In my time on YouTube, my understanding of homophobia and the psychological and emotional damage it can cause has increased. As many of my subscribers know, I was raised to believe that gays were sinners who deserved death. As I grew up, I was told these gays had psychological problems caused by child molestation or not enough love. We, of course, were not explained nor understood neuroscience, genetics, or epigenetics. When I went off to college and actually met out gays, my view of them changed, though not really for the better. The group of gays were all massive attention whores. I noted that they all seemed to have a superiority-inferiority complex, where they expected terrible treatment from most people, but they expected to be put on a pedestal by people who believed that gays were natural. From this, I made the assumption that most gays were just gay because they needed the attention. There probably were natural gays, but most of them were just wannabe gay. My logic was flawed, however, because I didn't take into account that these were young, dumb college kids with massive need for attention. It didn't have anything to do with the fact that they were gay, they needed attention. On top of that, correlation is not causation. Many times it is, but for the opposite reason. The way society treats gays can cause a need for attention. Sadly, if you're the only member of a minority someone meets, they will assume that all people of that minority are just like you. It's a natural reaction the brain has. It took many years to meet more homosexuals and to look at data and evidence of neurology, genetics, epigenetics, and natural biological variation, with YouTubers raising my awareness before I had to realize that there is nothing unnatural about homosexuality. I discussed in the video Overcoming Hatophobia how, now that I had to agree with this, I now had to change my behavior to fit this new evidence, and change my trained reaction of disgust, judgment, or pity when someone told me they were gay. I will not argue in the comments why science shows that homosexuality is natural. Please fully watch my series, Understanding Genetic Gradients. I've had people in the comments section want me to point out the experiment that proves that homosexuality is natural, which is like pointing out the experiment that evolution is true. Science shows multiple patterns, and both of these theories are proven again and again in nature. Recently, ZJMTV had many people claim that they still enjoy using the word gay as an insult or negative term. It's part of their cultural idiom and identity, even if they have nothing against gays. Use of the word gay as negative has been embedded into our pop culture and common speech, including Clerks, South Park, and Family Guy. It has humor emotionally tied to it, so we get a good reaction when we use it as an insult. However, as awareness of the damage homophobia causes rises, even South Park has changed their use and frequency of the word. Many gays have massive emotional scars tied to physical scars from the use of these words. I've had many people tell me, well, gays just need to get over it. We don't mean them any harm. Just telling someone to get over an emotional reaction tied with massive emotional pain is not possible without psychological help. I myself have had to observe and change the way I use gay as an insult. Being ex-Navy, of course, I've gotten good at insult sparring, which is a humorous way to pass the time and spice up and liven a conversation, especially when on a boat in the middle of the freaking ocean. One of the main insults was in a clever way to suggest someone was gay or had gay-like tendencies. You want to talk about a difficult way to change yourself, eliminating this kind of insult and retort from your vocabulary is very difficult. But seriously, why should assumption someone is gay be an insult? They're a minority and therefore something mock-worthy? Let's just use left-handers or blue-eyed people as a way of insult, seriously. Of course people say, what does it hurt? Around the time of the Civil Rights Movement, a teacher ran an experiment on her class. She divided up her class between brown and blue-eyed children. At first she treated, through speech and action, the blue eyes as superior and the brown eyes as inferior. The children picked up on this and entered into the role expected of them, with the blue eyes treating the brown eyes badly and brown eyes showing a drop in grades and performance. She then switched the preference, making the brown eyes superior and the blue eyes as inferior, and the exact same reaction occurred with the brown eyes bullying the blue eyes and the blue eyes grades dropping. As much as people like to say that the individual should be able to rise above the opinions of the community, there is still a psychological need that never will be filled. If it's assumed that you won't do well at something because of a trait unrelated to the skill, you will probably not do as well. Being an atheist has become so much easier when people around you increase their acceptance as opposed to assuming you're just a bitter, hateful person. It makes it that much harder not to be a bitter and hateful person when they assume it anyway. The individual affects the community, and the community affects the individual. If you continue the trend of using language denigrating a minority, that minority will feel isolated and have an increased chance of psychological and social problems in terms of the community. This will perpetuate the stereotype and assumption that the minority has psychological or social problems, because guess what? You and the society caused it. I will have to continue to monitor what I say, and I'm sure I'll slip up. However, thanks to South Park and Mike Judge, I'm still allowed to use gay and fag in an insulting format. Not as gays, mind you, but to insult homophobes and anti-intellectuals. Anytime we're discussing yet another stupid argument by the religious right, I love using the phrase, "Why are you trying to read that word? Are you fag?" Or, I'll use Cartman's phrase when he was trying to be severely anti-intellectual, "That's gay as hell, that pisses me off." I use these in hopes that people will see just how dumb homophobia is, and link the use of these words to idiocy. Perhaps if media had been at the same level during the civil rights movement, racial slangs would have been disseminated in the same fashion, turning them from insults toward the group to insults toward the bigots. Not being gay myself, I would like to know if my use of these words is still offensive to many gays, and I want your reasoning. It is reasoning and multiple opinions that has raised my awareness. It takes time to change the minds of others, and time to change the community, so that you can change yourself.